Hi folks, in honor of Veterans Day, I am joining you from Ernst Place down at the west end of the village. Now, many of you might know this as the Circle, but Ernst Place is probably one of the most important streets in our village, in my opinion. Hi folks, Robert Lowell Goller, and I thank you for joining me for our weekly chats about local history. Now, Ernst Place has a very interesting history, but many people probably don't know about it because it's located along the Circle here. It's actually a legitimate street. It was named by the village almost 100 years ago. And at least three addresses along here, including McDonald's and Quick Fill, are actually on Ernst Place. But we don't always think of it because we call it the Circle. It's very important because it is named after Private Lawrence F. Ernst, who was the first young man from East Aurora to give his life in World War I. And he was killed in action on June 14th, 1918. But his family was not informed of his death until August 15th, so 2 months later. And the reason I bring that up is they were informed by telegram. His mother, Helen, was informed by telegram. And the Ernst family has lent to the Aurora Town Historian's Office the original telegram that Mrs. Ernst received on August 15th, 1918. And it's on exhibit outside the historian's office at the Municipal Center on Oakwood Avenue. So if you want to actually see a part of that history, of East Aurora's history, World War I history, the Ernst family history, stop by Town Hall. It'll be on exhibit through the end of January. And we talk a lot more about Private Ernst and his story and his life, including how East Aurora honored his life and his sacrifice by naming this little road here outside of McDonald's, Ernst Place, here at the Circle. Now, there's been some stories as to how Ernst Place got its name. And there was actually one story, part of local lore, that Mr. Harold, who ran the Harold's hotel, the Circle Inn here at one point where McDonald's is today. It burned down in the 1960s. But the story goes that he, during Prohibition, was selling illegal alcohol out of his hotel, and he got caught and he was arrested. And in order to get him off of the charges on a technicality, the village fathers, the village leaders, changed the name of the road in front of the hotel in order to get him off of those charges. And so his citation would have said Hamburg Street or Main Street. And when he went into court, he said, "Oh no, I live on Ernst Place." And that story was passed down in the family, in the Harold family. It's an interesting story. I can find absolutely nothing to verify the story. It's one of those neat local lores that has its roots in the Prohibition, a very intriguing period of time, but I have no proof that that story actually is true, that is why they named this street here on the Circle, Ernst Place. I could be wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but as far as I know, Ernst Place got its name for no other reason than to honor the sacrifice of Lawrence F. Ernst, the first young man to give his life in service during World War I here from East Aurora. Now, at the time that they named this street, it was actually more of a street. It looked more like a street. Today it's a circle, so it's hard to picture the street being a straight road. But back then, until 1936 actually, this was a triangle, a town square. The Circle was put in as part of a WPA project in the 1930s. And so it was more of a straight road, so it looked more like a road. And then in the 30s they put the Circle in, but it's still named Ernst Place. And about 15 years ago when they reconstructed Main Street, I'm not sure if there was actually a street sign here before that, but regardless, after the reconstruction project, they forgot to put the sign back up, or there was no sign for Ernst Place. And so I dashed a letter off to the village officials and asked, as the town historian, if we could get the sign back up, because we have streets named after trees and other things, and we didn't have a sign up for this street, which I thought was much more important than streets that are named after trees. And then I was proud to see that the village followed up on that letter and put up the street signs, put up 2 street signs at either end here of Ernst Place. So Mr. Ernst, or Private Ernst, after he was killed in action in 1918, one of the things that I didn't realize was that he didn't come back right away. The remains of a lot of the service members who were killed in action were actually buried over in France, and that's what happened in this case. And 3 years later, more than 3 years later, they were brought back. Families had to wait to finalize funerals and finalize the final resting place of their loved ones. And Private Ernst came back in September of 1921, and he was buried over at the Catholic Cemetery on Bowen Road. According to the newspaper reports, businesses closed down in the community to honor him. He wasn't the only one. There are lots of service members who gave their lives throughout many conflicts and wars. In World War I, we had several. One of those, talking about the telegram, we were talking, I was talking to some folks about, just imagine being a family member and you're getting word that your loved one passed away, gave his life in the war, and you get the news by telegram. And that was common back then. And actually there's another exhibit at the town hall for Corporal Eric Ban. He was also killed in action, and his father found out on November 11th of 1918. As the community was celebrating the end of the war, they received word of the armistice. He receives the telegram that his son had been killed in action on September 29th. The delay in finding out was an extended delay. So he's thinking everything's okay, the war is ending, his son's coming home, and then he gets a telegram that tells him otherwise. So remembering these stories and the sacrifice not only of the people, the young men who served, but also their families, we can learn about that through the stories of folks like Private Ernst and Corporal Eric Ban. His dad worked at the Roycroft. As you're driving around the circle, just think about Private Ernst, and by extension all the folks who gave their lives in service of our country on this Veterans Day. It might be hard to do that while you're trying to navigate the circle. Keep your eyes on the road, but just take a moment to think as you're passing by these signs and you're driving on Ernst Place, to remember the folks who gave their lives in World War I and all the rest of the conflicts on this Veterans Day. Again, I'm Robert Lowell Goller. Thank you for joining me from Ernst Place here down at the Circle. I am the town and village historian, but these videos and a lot of my research, my book that's out right now, are not officially connected to my duties as town and village historian. If you have an idea for a topic, please pop it in the comments or send me a message. As always, I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping history alive. Honor veterans today, and we'll see you next time. Take care.